Intense, severe climate change. Global weather forecast UK 25. I think today's the 10th of January, Friday morning. That's 2025. Time's down there. 8:33 a.m. in the morning.
One of the greatest cities on earth, forcing tens of thousands of people out of their homes. Now, the causes of the California wildfires aren't yet clear, but scientists have been warning that events like this would become increasingly.
It's 1 Celsius cold, 1 Celsius warmer this January compared to last year's January 2024 across the south of the UK.
New record levels
No joke.
in 2024. Last year was the hottest ever recorded by the European Climate Monitoring Service. It was 1.
You'll be getting messages from me on WhatsApp to all you my friends out there. Subscribe to my channel
making
about this.
2024 the first calendar year to exceed the target of 1.5 degrees Celsius. The world has agreed to try and limit the temperature rise too. Now that doesn't mean
very hard.
it's been broken because it's
Very
close
hard.
to a 20-year average, but it is a worrying indication of just how close the world is to doing so in the long
All like
term.
close to doomsday.
Let's take a look.
Rakanov,
Remember the
Armageddon.
series of huge storms that battered the UK at the beginning of last year and left large areas flooded.
Compliments of Super El Nino though, in some ways.
Change has made
That made it worse,
rain and
sir.
snow on stormy days like those here in the UK 30% more intense, and we've had it relatively.
And don't forget I had La Nina for 3 years, but we had 1,000 minutes of rain last year because the town of Woking, nearly.
Amazon Basin, which reduced river levels to a 100.
That's the south of the UK, Woking town.
The 6 typhoons that hit the Philippines in just 30 days in November. These are just a few examples of the
Major
extreme
catastrophic
weather
damage.
which affected the world last year and which scientists say was linked to climate change. This map shows how the world has warmed since 1940. The blue shading is when temperatures are lower than average. Red shows where it is getting hotter. As you can see, virtually
more
the
reds
whole
now.
planet has got warmer over
And the
last
ocean,
8 decades.
North Atlantic and the Mediterranean hot as well. Hotter than normal.
The hottest ever recorded.
That's frightening.
Today's figures show the last decade has included all 10 of the hottest years.
Since 2014 it's been getting hotter and hotter.
A new climate
So back in that as well.
Species, say experts.
We're living in a climate that humanity hasn't experienced before. We can say with confidence when we look at ice core records, when we look at other data sets, that this is the warmest period for at least the last 100,000 years or so. And when we look back at the ice core records, it's the highest concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere for the last.
The methane gases don't help.
Unless greenhouse gas emissions start to reduce,
We've got to stop burning rubbish.
Temperatures will continue to rise, increasing the likelihood of extreme weather. That presents a huge challenge for the
There's
UK,
too many other humans. The wonder they had COVID.
Watchdog on climate.
The
Problems.
Climate Change Committee has been clear with government that we are in no way ready for the changing weather events that this economy will face.
No, Europe's not prepared for it.
Drought, extreme heat, or just the.
Oh, in America is as well. They're struggling with the fires.
That means for our existing infrastructure.
At any at the moment.
7% of the new housing planned for the UK will be built on floodplains.
You're joking, right?
The government told the BBC strengthening the UK's resilience to a changing climate is one of its top priorities. It said it is investing billions in flood defences and has launched a new.
But it causes more problems up for the river, for the stream. You can't win.
The fires in LA
Can't win.
are exactly the kind of event climate scientists have been warning.
Well, we have fires in the UK 2022 summer.
And a yet more
Heathrow fires. What's the cat so low key? I'm basically range. And there was several fires in Cornwall and Devon as well.
Now, Justin, there's a lot of, well, the imagery around there is shocking, some devastating images, but there's a lot of information which is not straightforward to comprehend.
Well, it is quite straightforward in a way. The world is getting hotter. It reached record levels last year. More indications of the direction of travel. The last decade contained the 10 warmest years. So it's hotter than it's ever been, and it's been getting steadily hotter over the last decade. And that should be a very worrying warning. You remember the world got together back in 2015 and said we've got a limit warning to 1.5. Well, last calendar year, last year, 2024, exceeded that. 1.6 degrees of warming. The reason we set that target was because the science suggests that above 1.5 degrees Celsius, the impacts of climate change will be even stronger, even more damaging.
This is very
You know,
enlightening but very
urgently
fearful
to begin to tackle this
inferno
problem. We need to
times
drive
for
down
warmer
emissions.
climate.
We're expecting emissions to rise
Not
this
really
year. I have to say,
healthy.
there is a kind of leveling out of global emissions, which suggests
Planet Earth
we
wise.
may be reaching a peak. But having reached that peak, we then need to drive emissions down in order to stop climate change continuing.
Okay, I don't want to be the voice of doom and gloom, but you've been doing this job a long time. We're all kind of aware of the conversation of climate change increasing and people being more aware that climate change exists.
Aye.
People aren't listening. And you know, you say it's plateauing, you say these emissions are plateauing, it's too late. Temperature's gone up.
We've gone past 2045 now.
Every degree or fraction of a degree that we manage to limit climate change to will represent a real saving in terms of real world impact on the environment. It is definitely not too late. And, you know, the challenge of reducing emissions is huge. And I think people say, oh, you know, why are we not doing enough? Because our world depends on fossil fuels. 80% of our energy.
We depend on the wildlife around us. We'd be lost without it. He's quite right. We've got to try and do something we can. Don't think we can now. Otherwise, there goes your bar of soap. There goes your comfort food.
New industries and new jobs, but it
You
shows
take for comfort
why it's
or
such
be
a
gone.
challenge to try and drive down emissions and
Let's say the soap for cod.
We've been showing people
It's further north.
the past few days, of course,
So
images
we won't be
from
eating cod any longer for chips. We'll be eating
We've had a look at that as well,
something else.
so where
Squid
this
for fish and
fits
chips.
within
Squid.
that
Squid.
discussion.
And let me introduce a new phrase for you, climate whiplash they're talking about. They're saying there's a double fingerprint of climate change in what's happening in Los
Really?
Angeles. On the one hand, you had an incredibly dry summer, record high
got weak La Nina as well.
that dried vegetation out. Before that, you had 2 years when you actually had higher rainfall than average. Warmer temperatures means you can the atmosphere can hold more water vapor, can produce more rain. That allowed vegetation to grow, so you had a bigger body of vegetation, more fuel for the fire when the sparks lit it. So, yeah, double fingerprint climate whiplash helping drive those fires in California.
Justin, thanks very
There you
much.
go. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm Joseph, my friend Farking Jimbo. If you Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. ITF Friday feeding Sarah Hills ratio, which is today. It's my friend Shane, live videos, which is in Lou. If you Friday, 10 to 12 p.m. Sarah Hills ratio live, it's in Lou today. And it's my friend John, the last show every Sunday at 9 a.m. to 12 and live on the Woken Radio Channel last show every Sunday. Let's on Sanjay.